Hi, and welcome to another episode of New, Old, and Songs Untold, episode 35.
Yes.
I remembered this
Maybe
time.
that'll be
Actually, I
correct.
looked it up.
Oh, okay.
Episode 35. We are doing our 2020 wrap-up episode for our podcast. I guess next week we'll explain a little. Will be more of a 2020 wrap-up for music.
Yeah,
in general.
we just went back through all of our podcast episodes and basically picked our top 20.
Top 20 favorite songs
Yeah.
that we have covered this year.
Yep.
So
Hopefully we'll kind of go through some of the episodes maybe you haven't listened to, or maybe that you did and you really liked, and so we can kind of
yeah.
get into our top 20. We obviously don't have a control list because this is just from our
it's
podcast.
just definitely just going to be our list, and I'm pretty excited to get through this, to go through it. I'm interested to see what we all pick since we covered a lot of music.
We covered a lot of music, a lot of different stuff, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff that we didn't listen to beforehand, and then there's a lot of stuff that we already knew. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what we ended up choosing.
Did you when you were going back? Did you any surprises, or you forgot songs that you forgot that we covered, or people?
Not as much as I thought. I thought there'd be more songs that I was like, oh, I totally forgot about this. But I feel like the ones that we listened to that I liked a lot, I have actually just included into the music I listen to now. So I'm pretty familiar with them.
Yeah, that's fair. There's a song that just barely missed my list, but the Shins episode I kind of forgot. I kind of forgot about that episode a little bit and forgot how many good songs there were on there. So looking back there, that was one I guess I kind of noticed when I was going through.
Yeah, that's for sure. So should we get into our top 20?
All right, let's do it. Okay, by the way, also, I don't think we're going to repeat all 20 unless you want to. Should we repeat them for them?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't think we need to.
We'll maybe do top 5.
Yeah.
We'll maybe repeat the top 5 for you guys at the end.
And this episode might be a little quick, just because we're not really diving deep into
it's more just if we
music.
have a reaction to each other's
obviously we've already talked extensively about all these songs, so if there's something that's interesting, you can definitely go check out that specific episode.
And most of these should be on, all mine at least were on my list. So I know you said you went through the playlist, so I don't know if you actually picked one that you didn't pick before. But
no, I think most of them are on my list. They weren't all number ones or anything.
Yep, that's why I kind of figured. So, all right, let's jump into it. What is your number 20?
My number 20 is actually a song that I discovered just from this podcast and listening to music for this episode, but it's Brown Eyes by Lady Gaga. I don't know if you remember the song, but
I do. I remember you talking about it anyways.
It really
so that's the one I didn't listen to.
I don't know why. It's not like that amazing of a song, but I just heard it. I was like, wow. I was pleasantly surprised by this song. But that is Brown Eyes for my number 20.
All right, my number 20. Jeez.
Number 20.
You also said pleasantly or puzzily surprised. So.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna say pleasantly surprised.
Already messing up. We've been off for I feel like a while.
I know, we're gonna be rusty this episode.
All right. Number 20 for me is All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. I believe this was my number 1 Jimi Hendrix song.
Yeah.
So.
It was my number 1 too. Mm-hmm. It didn't make my list though.
This was so hard to make actually. Yeah. So that was my number 20, All Along the Watchtower. What is your number 19?
My number 19 is Time to Pretend from MGMT.
Nice. That
was kind of an interesting episode because I didn't like most of their stuff, but I really love this song. This is a great song. That's Time to Pretend for my number 19.
My number 19 is Swimming Pool by Kendrick Lamar. Obviously off our Kendrick Lamar episode. Yeah, you guys will see I have a few songs by him on this list. So
yeah, he was one of the artists that I really wanted to be super into, but I didn't quite get it. He didn't quite do it for me, but so he didn't really make my list.
Yeah, that was Swimming Pool for my number 19. What is your number 18?
My number 18 is The Suburbs by Arcade Fire. You're going to see more Arcade Fire on this list because I love Arcade Fire and I couldn't just put one song on this list. But The Suburbs, I don't know if it was my number 2 or somewhere around there. It wasn't my number 1 for sure, but it was pretty, definitely top 5 for me on the on Arcade Fire episode. So that's The Suburbs for my number 18.
All right, my number 18 is Fortunate Son by CCR. Obviously off our CCR episode. I believe, that was definitely my favorite CCR song.
Was that your number 1?
Yeah, that was definitely my number 1.
Yeah, a lot of these songs are my number 1s, but some of them aren't.
I have a mix because I have a few from the same people. So
Yeah, me too.
so that was my number 18, Fortunate Son. What
Alright.
is your number 17?
My number 17 is an artist that probably isn't on your list at all, but it's Heart of Glass by Blondie. I know
Yeah.
you didn't. You didn't
I do
enjoy
I
Blondie
do
too
really
much.
like that song though. It made my initial cut, but then I was like, it's not gonna be the top 20 for me. So
Yeah, I love Blondie, and it was actually really hard to pick. I think this one was my number one, but there's so many from Blondie that I love, especially from the Parallel Lines album. I think all of those songs are amazing. So, but I went with Heart of Glass for my number 17.
All right, my number 17 is Springsteen by Eric Church from the Eric Church episode. This was my number one from the Eric Church episode.
Yeah, it's a great song.
I love the song so much, and I'm surprised I didn't put it up higher, but I think it's just that was the factor of us listening to a lot of different music this year. I like if we would have said this list before, I think like this probably would have been top 10 song of all time for me. Like a few years ago, but definitely in the top 20. So 17, Springsteen. What is your number 16?
My number 16 is Next Best American Record by Lana Del Rey. If you listen to that Lana Del Rey episode, you can tell I really like Lana Del Rey. And I love that Norman fucking Rockwell, that album, the whole thing is amazing. So I definitely have another song from that album on this list, so stay tuned for that. But that's number 16, the Next Best American Record.
All right, my number 16 is Time to Pretend by MGMT. This was
Nice.
this was my number 3 on the list,
Yeah.
so obviously you guys are seeing the other two on there at some point.
Wow,
So,
heavy MGMT.
I know, that was a weird episode because it was, like you said, it was like
The good songs are amazing,
the
and
top
then the
3
bad
songs,
songs are really bad.
these 3 songs probably top 50 songs for me of all time. Legit, like probably. But the rest of their songs are not, I did not enjoy them.
Yeah.
So that was Time to Pretend by MGMT for my 16. On to 15.
All right, 15.
Wait.
All right, so my number 15 is Paranoid by Black Sabbath.
Ooh.
Yeah, do you have any Black Sabbath on your list?
I had it on my short list. They made my
Okay,
top 40, I guess.
Yeah.
I had that at like, I don't know. I didn't obviously rate it. It was one of my first round
I
exits,
honestly
but
just loved that song even before we started the
It's a
podcast.
good
So
song.
I think that was my number one.
I was
also.
very surprised about how much I actually liked Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
too.
I-
like all their other stuff.
Yeah, I kind of I was pretty familiar with them before our podcast, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed a lot of their other stuff too. But Paranoid is for my number 15.
All right, my number 15 is Sugar, We're Going Down by Fall Out Boy off of our Fall Out Boy
did
episode.
not make my list.
Oh, I have a few, just a couple by them, but
Yeah.
so yeah, I have Fall Out Boys. The Sugar I'm Going Down is one of those songs that I've honestly loved this song since I was like 14 years old or
Yeah.
whenever I first
It's
heard
got
it.
that
So
nostalgic value.
it really does. So that's 15, Sugar, We're Going Down. What is your number 14?
All right, my number 14 is Hungry by Paul Revere and the Raiders. And
It's a good
that's
song.
so that one is from our Quentin Tarantino top 10 Quentin Tarantino soundtrack songs episode. Yeah, it's a great song. I know you didn't really, you kind of stuck with the artist, but the next 3 of mine are from those like theme top 10s.
Honestly, the Quentin Tarantino episode was the music, the collection of music for that episode's so good.
Yeah, that honestly, like and it's cool because like we got to listen to a lot of different stuff for that. It wasn't just like, one artist, one kind of music. It was all over the place, different kinds of music, which was really cool.
Honestly, Hungry might have been, I think it was definitely like my top 3 from that. I don't remember.
Yeah, I
though.
couldn't remember what my number 1 was.
I
on
might have
that
done
one.
Stuck in the Middle or Green Bag as my 1 and 2. I don't
Yeah.
remember though.
Yeah, I don't either. But if you haven't checked out that episode,
I
that's a really
definitely would.
fun episode right
Yep.
there. But that is Hungry for my number 14.
All right, my number 14 is another Fall Out Boy song. My number 1 rated Fall Out Boy song is
Yeah.
Dance Dance.
Nice.
Great song.
What a classic.
It is a classic, and I actually I kind of forgot about this song honestly until we listened to that episode. So
That episode actually reminded me of a lot of songs that I loved,
I mean,
but
the whole
didn't remember.
that whole the Thriller, or is it Thriller, that album?
Is
it
that
called
what's-
Thriller? No.
No,
Well,
that's just a
Thriller's
song.
on it.
That's just a song on it.
That was What was it called? Oh no, Infinity on High.
Infinity on High, yeah.
Sorry, Infinity on High. That whole album is fantastic.
Yeah,
so
I talk about it in the episode.
Talk about a vinyl I want to buy.
Yeah. I think I talked about it in the episode, but there were so many songs for that I didn't even realize I knew, and it was so nice discovering that album.
So that was my number 14. Dance Dance was your number 13.
My number 13 is What's Up by Four Non Blondes. So that one is off of our One Hit Wonders episode, which is again a really fun one.
Yep.
Obviously, all those songs are pretty amazing because they're one-hit wonders, so they're all kind of
I think
hits.
we're gonna do a part 2 to that.
Yeah, I think we should because there's still so many other.
So maybe it'll be like our top 11 through 11 through 20 or something, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, that's What's Up for my number 13.
All right, my number 13 is the second MGMT song, and my number 2, Electric Feel, for my number 13. Yeah, and there's one more to go that will pop up on the list.
I wonder what it is.
I bet you don't know what number it's going to be at though. So
no, I honestly I have no idea what your number 1 or like top 5 is going to be at all. I'm very curious to see.
All right, that was Electric Feel for my number 13. On to number 12.
Number 12. So my number 12 is Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 by Pink Floyd. And that one, again, was a theme top 10, so that was from our school songs.
Yep.
It was on, I believe, my list.
Yep.
Of school songs. So yeah, that's a great song. And that was kind of also a cool episode because we got to pick...
That was so interesting, actually.
We got to pick songs that weren't necessarily like categorized to a certain thing, but we kind of just picked what we thought were...
I definitely want to do more of those theme top 10s.
Yeah, I think those are honestly the most fun to make.
They're fun to make. I don't know if you guys like them, but they're fun to make.
They're fun to just like, okay, what songs could maybe work with this, and how could I justify? You know, it's kind of cool to pick them out. But that's Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 for my number 12.
All right, my number 12 is The Suburbs by Arcade Fire off of our Arcade Fire episode. That was the most surprising episode for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never really listened to them before, and I heard...
You just realized that
possibly
they're amazing.
I heard 3 of, like, the best, like, top 50 albums I've ever heard, so...
Yeah. Honestly,
they're really good, so...
Their album quality, they're just stacked. They're really stacked.
Yeah, the 3, Suburbs,
Funeral,
and the one in between.
Neon Bible.
Yeah. I love those albums, but... So, and this is not my number 1 for Arcade Fire. This is actually my number 3. So, a little spoiler of what's else on the list. So that was The Suburbs by Arcade Fire for my number 12.
All right.
On to number 11.
Number 11. So my number 11 is You and I by Lady Gaga.
I really wanted to put a Lady Gaga song on here.
I just love that song. You know, it makes this list makes me sound like a diehard Lady Gaga fan, which I wouldn't consider myself, but I do like a lot of her songs, and I think this might have been my number 1. I think was it both our number 1s, or did you have something else?
I had
Shallow.
I had Remember You This Way off of the Shallow sound.
Was that your number 1? Yeah, I don't remember if this was my number
soundtrack.
1. I think it was though.
You and I was like my number 2.
Okay.
Number 2, I think Shallow was number 3. I don't remember. I think that was my number 2 though. We both had it pretty high because I almost put it like I had it in my like front running list. So
yeah, but it's a great song. You and I for my number 11.
Yeah, like, that's also an interesting episode because she has a lot of music that's not like what you think Lady Gaga is too. So
very diverse.
Listen to the Joanne album and it's fantastic. But all right, so
we are on number
11. 11 for me still is Homecoming by Kanye West off of our Kanye West episode. I think this was our second episode.
Oh, what a transformative album or episode for me because I didn't really ever listen to Kanye West, and now I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy specifically, but yeah.
This was my number 3 by Kanye West, so another spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking down my list and there's like 5 artists on my top 20, so...
You know, if you have your favorites, you have your favorites.
Alright, and that was Homecoming for my number 11. We are into the top 10 now.
Top 10.
Alright.
So my number 10.
What is your number 10?
Is Springsteen by Eric Church.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's high.
Yeah. those of you listening might also be surprised because I always just bash
Miss
on
Country Hater
music.
herself
But,
had to pull her teeth to do the Waylon Jennings episode. So.
yeah, I was not a fan of that one. No, this song just gets me. I listened to the song quite a bit before we did this podcast, so it's not like it was like a surprise to me at all. But yeah, I love this song. It's such a great song.
This song came out like we kind of talked about before, so it was up on my list. But
Yeah.
I've probably listened to the song since it came out the most out of any song I've since
Yeah.
probably 2011. I've listened to this song probably the most.
It's just so good. It's so beautiful and nostalgic. Oh, it's amazing. But that is Springsteen for my number 10.
My number 10 is Jackson by Johnny Cash and June Carter off of our Johnny Cash episode.
Yep.
I honestly thought this was my number 1 for
Is
the
it
Johnny.
not?
It's not.
Oh, what was your number 1?
We'll get
okay,
there
okay.
because obviously it's on the list. It's on the list, but this song, I love this song so
I think
much.
that was my number 1, but
I think it was too, but I
Yeah.
don't remember. This song is one of, I think, the best back and forth songs between a duet,
Yeah.
especially a man and woman duet, or male and female. I don't know why I said man and woman. Male and female duet. I think it's like one of like the best back and forth duets I've ever heard, and obviously I'm sure there's other great ones
the
out
whole
there.
tone
But
of the song
it
is
is.
just
It's
incredible.
awesome. It's awesome. It's fast paced. It's fun, but also has a very serious like backstory tone to it because it's
Yeah.
about marital problems essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an awesome song. Very, very great. Obviously, I like it quite a bit because I can just talk about it. So that was Jackson for my number 10.
Yeah, my number 9 is also Jackson.
Oh,
of
perfect,
Johnny Cash.
perfect.
So we
That's probably the
coordinated.
closest we're gonna have to the same pick.
I think so, because from here on out, I think we're gonna diverge quite a bit. I don't know, maybe
We'll
not.
see. I think there might be. I think there's a couple more chances. I just don't remember this
Yeah.
specific artist. What your number 1s were. So
Yeah, I think maybe Bruce Springsteen. If he has a song on your list, we might have.
Ooh,
some.
no, he did
No?
not make. He was like
Oh,
20. He
never
was
mind.
like 25 because. Yeah, I only took one. I took 2 off the initial, and he like made the top 30. He would have made
Gotcha.
top 30 probably with both songs.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that. I know exactly what song. All right.
Yeah. Okay, but my number 9 was Jackson.
All right. My number 9 is "Keep the Car Running" by Arcade Fire.
Great song.
Surprise! I've never heard this song before the podcast. Obviously, this is off our Arcade Fire episode. Absolutely fantastic. I'm saying a lot, and I apologize. I feel like I haven't talked in front of a mic in like 2 weeks, so I'm just
get
like,
it all out.
But yeah, so let's "Keep the Car Running." This was my number 2 Arcade Fire song, so
Gotcha. So number 1 is probably gonna be
yeah,
on there as
it'll
well.
probably be on there. All right, what is your number 8?
All right, my number 8 is "The Ultra Cheese" by Arctic Monkeys. So
Okay, off
this
of
is
the
from the album battle episode we did between Tranquility Base Hotel Casino
Mhm.
and then Ziggy Stardust by David Bowie, which you'll see a David Bowie song on my list as well. But I love those 2 albums. I think comparing them was like, I mean, I like went into the deepest analysis possible, and it was literally so fun.
Yeah.
Like I loved doing that episode. But yeah, the Ultra Cheese is a really cool song. It sounds very different than a lot of their other stuff, so I like that a lot. But that is my number 8.
All right, my number 8 is "Gold Digger" by Kanye West. That was my number 2 on his episode.
I don't even think that was on my list on his episode.
Probably not. I love this song. It's off of Graduation.
Mhm.
Absolutely love this song. All right, what is your? Oh, I guess I should say that was Gold Digger for
Yes.
my number 8.
Yeah.
What is your number 7?
My number 7 is "Scar Tissue" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
They just also missed my list. I was like, I forgot. I think I literally forgot the Fall Out Boy songs and bumped both Red Hot Chili Pepper songs
Yeah.
off my list.
Yeah, "Scar Tissue" I think was my number 1. Californication was pretty close behind. I think that was
My
maybe
number 1
2.
was Snow, I think. Heyo.
Yeah, I think it was.
And Californication was my 2. Scar Tissue is my number 3.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean I love that song. I've listened to that a lot before
Yeah.
the podcast.
Pod class? It's a pod class.
Yeah, the podcast. But yeah, that's "Scar Tissue" for my number 7.
All right, my number 7 is "Poetic Justice" by Kendrick Lamar. That was my number 2 Kendrick Lamar song.
Nice.
So yeah, Poetic Justice for my number 7. What is your number 6?
My number 6 is Nebraska by Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
So this goes all the way back to our first episode. And that whole album completely took me by surprise. I had never listened to that before, and I honestly fell in love with it. You just got me that on vinyl for my birthday, and I listened to it. It sounded amazing on vinyl.
That actually wasn't my number 1. I looked back.
Nebraska? My number 1 wasn't Nebraska either. It was I'm on Fire.
Mine was Spirit in the Night.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even remember if Nebraska was my number 2. It might have been, but it might have been a different song from that same album.
Yeah.
But yeah, this song just kind of encompassed the discovery of the whole album. So I went with Nebraska for my number 6.
And the Bruce Springsteen episode is our first episode, so treat us harshly if you haven't listened to it and go back and listen to it.
I will never listen to it again because it seems kind of rough, but maybe it's not too bad. I don't know.
No, he was definitely interesting to talk about though. For sure. Definitely, he has a lot of music.
He had a very interesting backstory, too.
And we have interesting opinions on him, and you guys can go back and listen to that
if you dare.
To hear them, if you dare.
So what's your number 6?
My number 6 is Backseat Freestyle by Kendrick Lamar, which was my number 1 Kendrick Lamar song off the Kendrick Lamar episode. Nice. So 6 and 7, both Kendrick Lamar for me.
Wow.
So that was a Backseat Freestyle. What is your number 5?
My number 5... This was really hard because I wanted this to be higher, but we're in the top 5 now, so it really came very close. But my number 5 is Monster by Kanye West.
That's even, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love this song.
I know you love that song.
There's a lot of songs on that album. Dark Fantasy is also really good. I think number 1 on my list for that episode was Monster, though. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I've always loved that song. Even when I wasn't into Kanye West, I still knew that one song.
Yep.
And I don't know why I never listened to the rest of the album until this podcast, but I'm so glad I did. But that is Monster for my number 5.
All right, my number 5 is Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash off our Johnny Cash episode.
Was that your number 1?
Yeah, that was my number 1 Johnny Cash song. This is classic Johnny Cash. And I thought I had Jackson over this, but I honestly re-listened to it. I'm like, man, it's such a I think I've heard it so many times that I think at first
sometimes
you're kind of
can't beat that iconic song.
You can't, but I feel like sometimes you also get numb to a song you've heard quite a while and forget how good it actually is.
Yeah.
But,
for sure.
So that was my number 5, Ring of Fire. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is Soul Love by David Bowie. So that's obviously from Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, and that episode that we did when we compared the albums. This is, I love that whole album.
Is that your favorite song off the album then?
I think so. Moon Age Daydream is obviously amazing.
I love that song, but that
song is really, really good, but I've just heard that so many times.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I think 5 Years is also maybe 5 Years is probably my favorite, but just listening wise, if I'm just listening to individual songs, I think Soul Love beats it. It's just, I think it's the second song on the album, and it's really good. I really love that song. But that is Soul Love for my number 4.
All right, my number 4 is No Church in the Wild by Kanye West / Jay-Z.
Yes.
Off of
Watch the Throne.
Watch the Throne. This was my second song on the Kanye West thing on the episode. Yeah, the song, I just love the total just beat of the song. Just kind of, it's funny because it's very heavy beat, and it's very funny because it's in the Great Gatsby movie, the newest one that was made, and it's very funny that they threw that in there. But it's a very, I love the song. I just listened to it so much, and it's a
great song.
Yeah. All right, that was my number 4, No Church in the Wild.
All right.
What is your number 3? Wow, we're down to 3 already.
Down to 3. So my number 3 is Simple Song by the Shins.
That just missed my list.
Yes. Yeah, this was my number 1 on the Shins. I think number 2 was Australia.
That was my number 1.
Number 3 might have been New Slang. I don't really remember number 3, but the Shins are amazing. They're such a classic indie band, and the whole sound of their band is pretty amazing. But yeah, that's Simple Song for my number 3.
All right, my number 3 is Kids by MGMT.
Yeah.
We kind of already talked about them quite a bit.
I thought that might be number 1, but I guess not.
No. Do you have any? You could never guess number 2. I don't think.
Probably not.
I'll give you a shot when it's my turn.
Okay.
But all right. So that was Kids by MGMT for my number 3. All right, on to what is number 2 for you.
All right, number 2 for me is The Greatest by Lana Del Rey. So
Okay.
another Lana Del Rey song making an appearance. Yeah, this is such a great song, has such a cool sound. Yeah, that's The Greatest for my number 2.
All right, can you guess what my number 2 is?
I have no idea.
Can you even guess an artist?
I was thinking maybe Kanye West, but you've had a lot already of Kanye West, so maybe
I
not.
have. It's not.
No? Well, who is it?
It is Ready to Start by Arcade Fire.
Oh, okay. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
This song's fantastic. It was my favorite Arcade Fire song. Yeah, that episode was so awesome to do because I was so pleasantly surprised with listening to them. I was going through this. I'm like, man, I can't believe. I was like, I could believe it because it's a really good song. I really like it, but I was like, I can't believe that a song that my top 5's it kind of makes sense to the kind of music. It's kind of funny because it's definitely all spectrums of the kind of music I listen to.
Yeah.
So I have country, rap, and indie.
Yeah. You're hitting all the genres.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. So that was my number 2, Ready to Start by Arcade Fire. We are on to number 1.
Number 1.
What is your number 1?
Number 1 song that we listened to this year, 2020, for the podcast for me, is Windowsill by Arcade Fire. Yeah, this is off of Neon Bible. This was definitely my number 1 song from the Arcade Fire episode that we did. And yeah, it's just such a great song. I think the lyrical depth in it is amazing. It kind of showcases all the greatness of Arcade Fire and their whole sound. And yeah, so that's Windowsill for my number 1. I had to put Arcade Fire. I just had to.
All right, my number 1 is the final Kanye West song on my list, and that is Dark Fantasy.
I thought that was gonna happen.
Yep.
I thought that might be your number 2, but.
Yep, that was obviously my number 1 song off the Kanye West episode. I kind of talk about it more, obviously, in that episode. Go back and listen. That's a good episode, too.
Yeah.
All our episodes are obviously great. You can go back and listen to them.
We're an amazing podcast, so listen to all our episodes.
So yeah, that was number 1, Dark Fantasy. I guess we can go back, re-say our top 5 if you want to go.
Yep, so my number 5 was Monster by Kanye West. My number 4 was Soul Love by David Bowie. My number 3 was Simple Song by The Shins. My number 2 is The Greatest by Lana Del Rey. And my number 1 was Windowsill by Arcade Fire.
My number 5 was Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash. Number 4 was No Church in the Wild by Kanye West. Number 3 is Kids by MGMT. Number 2 is Ready to Start by Arcade Fire. Number 1 is Dark Fantasy by Kanye West. So what did you think after going through all these songs?
Yeah, it's really fun to look back and see all the stuff that we listened to and kind of what we thought about them. It's cool that how diverse of different kind of. I mean, we try to not do one single genre all the time, just to kind of have some variety. But it was cool to listen and see okay, these are all the different songs from all these different genres that I love, and it was also cool to see the ones that I have discovered and would never probably have listened to without the podcast, which is really cool. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I took away the most from what we've been doing this for 6 months now already, which is kind of crazy. The crazy, we've done artists from Fall Out Boy, MGMT to
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath to Waylon Jennings to Blondie to all these different kind of genres. It's been awesome to do and gained definitely a greater respect, I think, for a lot of different kinds of music.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I feel like I realized how much it's way better or it's easier to understand an artist when you listen to a lot of their music. Because I feel like the tendency is you listen on the radio, you hear one song, but I feel like that never really encapsulates
I agree.
Their whole kind of sound and the progression of their career. And I think that's one of the coolest things about this podcast and kind of listening to all this music is you can see a bigger picture of the artist than you normally would.
Yeah, and I guess this is our wrap-up episode, I suppose. So we did actually, I believe, hit over 1,600 downloads this year for 6 months, which is
exciting.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Honestly, thank you to everyone who listens to this. We didn't really expect anyone to listen to it, so
not at all.
seeing those numbers is really amazing, and thank you for listening and watching the videos as well.
Absolutely. Next year we have, I think, a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. The next episode that we're doing, if we want to.
We're not done with 2020 quite yet.
Yes.
I know people want to get rid of 2020, but
people want to be done with it. But
next week we're gonna talk about the music that came out in 2020.
Yeah.
Our top 10 we're doing, I believe, top 10 favorite 2020 songs that came out.
Yep, so just songs that came out in 2020 that we liked, that we've been listening to throughout the year. I think that I'm really excited for that episode. I don't know about you, but...
I mean, I've been cramming like an exam, so I don't listen to a lot of new music. That's like, I was like thinking about, I was like, I know people do like New Year's resolutions. I think my podcast resolution is to listen to actually
more
try to
music.
listen to new music next year, because I've never been good at that. So.
Yeah, only within the last couple of years I've listened to a lot of like newer music that's, you know, just fresh coming out, and that this year especially, since I had so much free time, I feel like I listened to a lot of the big albums for this year. But yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yeah, that wraps up this episode.
Yeah, I think that's all we need to say. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Songs Untold. The link will be in the description. You can obviously go back and listen to all of the episodes that we mentioned and kind of talked about briefly in this episode. And if you want to listen to any of the songs, all of these songs actually will be on our podcast playlist.
Yeah, look through the podcast and let us know like what your favorite song was that we covered, or maybe there's one by the artist that we didn't cover that you really enjoyed. You know, give your feedback of the kind of the artists and the people we covered.
Yep, and then tune in next week, obviously, for our 2020 kind of review songs.
It might be more this week, honestly. We don't know when it's going to get released.
It'll be eventually.
We're the most unscheduled podcast of all time.
I think that's just going to be our brand, though. I think that's going to be our thing.
All right.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.